Okay, so several months ago, I said that I would give a review of the new Rossum SP1200. And I've spent copious amounts of time on it now. I want to give you my review of what I think. So, number one question, does it sound like the original SP1200? Yes, 100%. There is zero difference between this machine and that machine when it comes to sound. Zero. Two, does it work exactly the same? Absolutely. It works exactly the same. The only difference is now there is an SD card instead of a floppy disk. I can't imagine it's very easy to find floppy disks nowadays. Three, how about the sampling time? Does the sampling time affect anything? Yes. You get 20 seconds now instead of 10, but you're still limited to the 2.5 seconds per channel. That has not changed. But when you get creative, you can make all sorts of cool things happen. Is it my number one workhorse? No, it's not. My SP1200 is absolutely my favorite piece of gear that I own because there is some nostalgia to it for me. There is some history with this machine for me, and there's certain things you just can't take away from the SP1200. So it will forever hold a special place in my heart, but it is not the machine that I use every day. It just isn't. There's lots of complexities when it comes to using a machine like this. Even though it's a new machine, it's still an old machine. You still have to dump everything in your SP track by track, or if you have a multi-track input, you have to sync everything up. And there are some discrepancies amongst SP1200 fanatics on whether one way works better than the other way. And we're not going to get into that. But it does add a layer of complexity when it comes to dumping tracks out. So somebody who works regularly with other artists, rappers, etc., for me, it adds a lot of time, a lot of extra time for my workflow. So if I have an artist that's like, hey, I want to work specifically on just SP1200, on your SP1200 beats, then I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to have lots of extra time that I'm going to have to dedicate, because it's not going to be just me making a beat and sending them a wave. I'm going to have to make a beat, dump everything. I mean, you can do like a stereo track if you want, but when it comes down to mixing, you want to be able to control every part and drop things in and out, and sometimes that doesn't happen in your programming, so you have to do it manually in a DAW. So that means that you're dumping 8 tracks out all at once, or track by track, depending on how you do it. So there's extra work involved if you're going to use this machine. What else is there? What else is there? Does it feel like the original machine? Yeah. It feels just like it. The buttons feel like it. The knobs are different because they use different knobs. So for like the mix volume and metronome volume and gain, the knobs are all different. They're different than the original, but it doesn't bother me one bit. It thumps like the drums. You put drums in this thing, it is silly how thumping this machine is. If you are used to making beats on, let's say, an MPC or Machine, or even an SP404, you are going to have a difficult time navigating this machine. This machine does not work the same way that you would work on, let's say, an MPC. The time stretching is different. The time stretching is not really time stretching on this machine. You're pitching down to get time stretch. You can't go in through and do math to make things go longer. It doesn't work that way on these machines. There's a huge learning curve if you've never used an SP1200 before. There's no touch screen. Everything is by the numbers. There are no waves. Everything is by ear. You can't go through and truncate things because you see a waveform. It doesn't work like that on the SP. The SP has this little bitty screen that gives you just numbers and menus. That's it. You don't get any visual cues whatsoever. So editing on this machine is a lot of work. If you're sampling straight off of a turntable, like most of us SP users do, it just takes time. It takes lots of time and it takes lots of work and patience because you have to trust your ears when you're making beats on this machine. Because there's no other way to edit. It's all in here. There's no perfect way to sync a loop and make it perfect just by, like putting in numbers. It doesn't work like that. You have to trust your ears on this machine. So that is a completely different workflow. Are the filters, here's a question that I get. Are the filters the same now on this machine as they are on the old machine? No. The filters are different on this machine. And to be perfectly honest with you, when we talk about the filter, most people are talking about the filters in order to duplicate or get all the high end out of a certain part of the sample so they can separate the bass line from the original sample. It's a little bit more touchy on the new SP1200 than on the old machines. The older machines, the typical, like the ultimate pairing of the old SP1200 was you get an SP1200 and you get an Akai S950 and you work them together. And there was a couple of reasons for that. The S950 had incredible filters for your bass line, but it also had way more sample time than the SP did. But now that the SP has 20 seconds of sampling time, if you're really freaking it, you don't need another machine. The only time you might need another machine is if you want to create a bass line, because it makes the filters on the new machine, on the new SP1200 are a little different. You have to get really, really, really intricate on the back of the machine in order to get the filters that you're looking for. So, do I recommend the Rossum SP1200? Yes. I love this machine. It makes me feel like I am, like 16 again, learning how to make beats, and it feels so amazing. The Rossum did an amazing job. If y'all are not aware, Rossum is the original designer of the SP1200 for EMU. I don't know where the legalities of that are, and I'm not here to talk about my knowledge of that. I don't know. But he started creating them again, and thank you very much, Mr. Rossum, because having another one of these in my studio is fantastic. But like I said before, when I'm really, really focused on working on a project, this is not going to be the machine I go for. I'm going to use my MPC, my MPC X, or my MPC One. I will not be using my MPC keys. If you have not seen my review of that, check it out. You can hear why I do not recommend that machine, currently at least. So, Rossum SP1200, killer. Love it, absolutely love it. Will not be getting rid of it ever, but it is not my main piece. So take that for what it is. If you want to see this SP1200, this Rossum SP1200 in work, please visit my Instagram. I've got several videos of me making beats on my SP1200. And if I can, maybe I can put all of those videos together and maybe upload them all as one video onto YouTube so you can see it as well there, or here, wherever the hell you're seeing this video. So anyway, SP1200, Rossum SP1200, double thumbs up, just not my main workhorse.